Hey, Zeyzal and Blaber here, and today we're going to be breaking down patch 9.14.
Alright, so first, the anti-shielding champions.
This is actually something I thought should be in the game for a long time. Just some way to like stop shielding or break it. I think this is actually a pretty bad way to go about it, just putting it on random champions.
I thought a good idea might have been putting out items, but
I think executioners should have like
anti-shielding too.
Grievous wounds probably should have some anti-shielding is what I thought, but I mean now Blitzcrank and Renekton have it. Blitzcrank on his ult and Renekton on his empowered W.
They really wanted to get rid of luck support.
Yeah, I mean they
shield and then they break a shield.
Yeah, I think it's a good change. I don't think it changes much about these champs. Like Blitz is still a niche pick and Renekton's still really powerful. It's just a straight buff to these champs for sure.
Yeah. Alright, the anti-healing champions, starting with Katarina. I don't really think this change does anything. I mean,
she already had it.
Yeah, she already had healing reduction.
40 to 60 now.
20%. The Cloud one might be pretty nice. 60% healing reduction for like 5 seconds. I mean, that could change some matchups like Vladimir.
I think because Cloud's job is a diver. So then like if you're diving an 80 carry, they almost have some form of lifesteal and they run heal. So I think like even like in a late game team fight, if you get 1 kill you wouldn't have got before the buff, this buff's just insane.
Flat damage reduction champions.
Before basically it just blocked 4 damage from auto attacks from champions and minions. Now it blocks 4 against all sources of damage to a maximum of 50%, and it scales off AP. I actually was looking at this, and as a Singed player, I was pretty sad.
I mean, to be honest, this seems kind of useless mid lane.
It's actually only useful against certain champs, but against all sources of damage is actually pretty big, because that's like just random damage reduction. So any dot effects.
It helps mages too. Which
I wonder if it just makes Lyandra useless too.
It could be good, for sure. I mean, it seems like a buff. But
Leona, this one I actually think is a nerf. They added Leona's W, which previously gave about maybe 30% more armor and magic resist. They nerfed that by the 30% and added flat damage reduction of 8, 12, 16, 20, and 24 pre-mitigation damage.
I mean, they just straight nerfed its armor and MR too. So.
And then they basically just, I think it actually makes you weaker against some things, but I was thinking about it. And it seems like it could be good versus like Xayah E, because each feather hits individually. I thought this was weird. They removed the auto attack enhance on her ult, but it doesn't seem like they buffed her. So they just nerfed her straight up, which didn't really make sense.
Don't know why they're...
This used to give attack range and 50 damage on hit, which was actually huge in 2v2s.
I mean, Leona's not very OP right now.
So it just seems like a nerf with like, maybe this is good. There's potential.
True Sight champions, starting with Karma. This Karma's W now provides True Sight on rooted targets, which, with the Akali W change on the Shroud, lets you see her now if you have her rooted.
Maybe it changes Karma or Akali matchups mid lane. So.
Yeah, Karma Akali maybe.
Yeah, and then LeBlanc next, the same thing on E.
Yeah.
It's minor buffs. There's some situations that'll matter, but most it won't.
Yeah. Anti-mobility champions. Ari's Charm, the bonus damage duration is reduced from 5 seconds to 3 seconds, and it now cancels dashes, which is...
If you get hit mid-dash, which seems interesting. I think it could be good in some matchups, but it seems like it could also just end up being a nerf. If you're not against champion with the dash, obviously it is. But like, maybe the Irelia matchup's different now, because you can break his Q reset. I don't know why they're nerfing the champions in addition to giving them these things. But maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe these buffs are bigger than we think. I would say this is a nerf, because they just reduced the bonus damage duration on her E.
They just recently changed Cassiopeia. They made it so she can buffer her ability cast, which I was reading, I think, on Reddit, that it lets you cast your E 30% faster now.
There was a video on Reddit about the PvE changes. Apparently buffering is huge, especially when you're high ping. But they nerfed her armor, which means she's probably weaker in AD matchups. The health gain might make up for the armor, but I would say in general she's probably weaker versus AD matchups now. But since she gained health, she's better in magic damage matchups.
And then they nerfed her mana level 1, which I think is pretty important, because before a lot of casual players would just run past the wave in EU. Yeah, EU.
That's what they tried to get rid of.
But they lowered the mana cost, so you can't really do that, and they added the mana growth, so you'd have more mana later.
They also actually increased the E's mana cost at level 1, but gave it a heal based on AP rather than a flat heal. So they nerfed that strategy
I
a
think
lot.
she's like a lot more of a scaler now because.
The W changed though. No minimum cast range. I think that's pretty huge.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because now when like someone dives on top of you, like an Irelia, you just drop it on top of yourself.
It changed a lot of melee matchups too. Yeah.
You had to throw it like behind them, and it was kind of worthless. You almost had to predict they were going on you. But now you just drop it on top of yourself, and it's like self-peel.
Yeah.
So Cassio might just be insane late game. Well, these are the changes that matter, though. The
Oh, yeah.
Poppy change. So how Poppy W worked before is it would block 1 dash ability per champion, and then you could dash again. But now for 2 seconds, they're grounded, which pretty much means they can't flash, they can't do anything. So if you get your jump stopped and Poppy's on top of you in a team fight, you're just dead because you're stuck for 2 seconds. And they slightly buffed the movement speed total from 30 to 35, but decreased the duration. This is the only one that actually seems like there's no nerfs at all.
Yeah, I mean,
It's just a straight buff.
they lower the movement speed duration, but like it's 0.5
You got
seconds.
move speed back.
It also changes a lot of matchups too. Like the Riven matchup, for example, you can't queue anymore. And
Oh yeah, Riven you could just
yeah, you could just
queue right
once,
after.
the Yasuo
Queue once,
matchup,
lose it.
You can't E anymore.
Yeah. This is the main part of the patch notes, champion balance, so buffs, nerfs.
They changed Aatrox. I mean, they slightly buffed his health regen growth, which I mean,
By almost nothing.
0.25 per level. I don't really think that.
I think they just rounded the number up, honestly.
Yeah.
They were just like, this looks pretty weird. And we're already in here, may as well update this.
Yeah, and then they increased the Amplify self-healing early and reduced the cooldown, but they made it so Aatrox can't revive anymore.
Which is what makes him OP and
which
competitive.
it's definitely pretty huge because a lot of Aatrox's power is that once he gets the reset, everyone starts running because you don't want to kill him. Like, you don't want to put all your resources into killing the Aatrox and then he just revives while his team's killing you.
Yeah, I would say that's a big nerf, though. Even though they buffed some small stuff, I'd say that hurts Aatrox a lot, losing the revive.
And then they changed Akali again.
So basically, the main thing they did was they removed the actual like permanent stealth on her W. Like the W no longer gives you. Before it was called obscurity, I guess. Now it's invisibility, and you're revealed by any true side effects rather than only the outline of Akali. But what they did to her, and to make up for that, is they actually buffed her AP ratios a lot. Like they straight buffed her Q ratio by 0.1, and then they gave her an AP ratio on both parts of E.
They nerfed the base damage, but I don't think that's enough for the AP ratio.
It's going to be surpassed quite quickly. You have to make up 60 damage.
Yeah.
So as soon as you get your first item, pretty much your Gunblade, you're going to do more damage with your E than previously.
Yep. And they also buffed her magic resist and health growth. So
I think she might be quite a strong assassin then at level 13, especially is when you'll notice the buff. Oh, this one's the most worthless buff there is, but maybe it's going to matter. Alistar was given 75 mana, level 1, with 2 mana growth. It's basically just 1 extra spell.
And then they changed Aurelian's Soul. It seems like they made is Aurelian's Soul a guy or a girl? I don't even know.
I don't think you gender the dragon. The star radius itself grows faster, whereas the movement speed that it requires to keep it big stays the same. So now basically your size of your Q can be scaled by 33% more before you lose the move speed. So, I think it's a good change. Just minor buffs, and you might see some interesting Aurelian Qs. Okay, Bard change is they added some of his regen to his health. So basically they nerfed the health regen and added it to his base health. And they also changed the E so that points in it matter a lot less. Basically what I'm noticing is that they're trying to make abilities that you before would put points in just for some utility. They're just giving that utility straight up. Seems pretty interesting. Yeah, they're trying to get you to have points in your actual active abilities instead of your utility
your damaging abilities, yeah.
I think Diana was actually really strong on 913, and these are all straight nerfs.
She also had this bug where she could like R 3 times.
Yeah, if you Q'd, and then basically you timed your R so that you QR, then you R again, and then you Q mid-air or something like that, and you could end up R'ing 3 times when it should have only been twice.
Yeah, and then they increased the mana on W and reduced the inner arc speed of Q and the outer arc speed.
The Q was really easy to hit if you could aim it on Diana. I noticed that. And this is a big change. They changed Galio. They changed it so you can no longer W flash.
I think that's a pretty big nerf.
Or you would channel your W, and then they would have to be super scared of you flashing on them. You actually had to use it to get on people. So now without this, it's kind of awkward. Like you have to flash W, which has no duration at all. It's 0.5.
Another like benefit of the W flash is obviously they can't flash out of it.
Yeah.
Like if you flash W, they're always gonna flash out.
Preemptively flash, basically.
Yeah. And you wanted to get like a big top.
To make up for this, they basically just shifted his damage to his passive, which is free damage. But you actually lose overall burst damage from all these changes. So this is actually a huge nerf. And then Jhin.
They gave Jhin a slight buff, 2 seconds lower on the W cooldown, and the root duration increased by 2.5 per levels, which is pretty good, I'd say.
Yeah, this one's pretty big. On 913, Lux support was the second best blind pick behind Yuumi. So what they did to her was they made her Q scale with levels, which is pretty big because you could put points in W and E, which one allowed you more poke and the other allowed you more shielding. And you still had the utility of the bind. There's basically no reason to put points in bind, but now there is.
Yeah. They also nerfed the W shield by a lot, like
basically about 35%.
Yeah.
So the max shield is still the same, but it seems like the first part can be stronger now.
Yeah, I think they just wanted to nerf Lux.
They just wanted to nerf the shield a lot.
Really oppressive in lane.
And then they buffed her ult a bit, or changed her ult. It's not quite a buff, other than the AP ratio and cooldown, but they removed the fact that you could get a reset on Lux ult, which is actually kind of a pretty fun part of the kit. And
they changed Malphite, I saw.
Yeah, actually there's a really cool part of his kit now. He gets bigger the more armor you get. I looked it up on PvE because I was curious. Yeah, so his W is now an ability called Thunderclap, but now what it seems like is he gets an auto attack reset, so they just increased his overall damage is what I bet. So maybe Malphite is now more like burst up front.
Yeah, I heard from West, who's a Malphite expert, that Malphite's pretty strong right now.
It's a buff?
Yeah, he said it's a buff because you just deal more damage.
And they changed the Q in a way that's it hits faster. So now it starts in front of you instead of in the center of your character.
And they increased the slow percent, but reduced how long it slowed you for.
Yeah. The duration was quite long before. I would say it's buff. I think having a useful W, which Malphite didn't really have before, is a straight buff.
And then they did a slight nerf to Mordekaiser.
I don't even think it's really necessary.
Yeah, I mean, they lowered the base damage of Mord passive by from 8 to 25 to 5 to 15 from levels 1 to 18. And they reduced the magic penetration on his E. So, I mean, it's a bit of a nerf, but I don't think
it
matters too much, yeah.
This one's yours.
Oh, yeah, they buffed Nidalee's E damage in Cougar form by 10 per level.
10 per level. That's an extra 10 really damage on each raptor, though. Really that's 60 damage.
It's really good buff.
They actually did a nice change to Pyke that makes no sense, actually. So the main thing they did was they changed the ult so that Pyke always gets 2 coins. Before, when you solo killed someone, you didn't get a coin. Now when you solo kill someone, you do. But now also, when you get an assist from your ult, which is only when you execute with it, you get 2 coins, which is 600 gold. Before, you would have got 300. So your ult pretty much just always gives you more gold now.
I think this change is pretty dumb, in my opinion.
It's just a straight buff.
Like, yeah, I mean,
it doesn't make sense.
I don't understand.
Pyke is really strong on the new patch because of this, especially in solo queue.
Yeah, they nerfed Pyke's like wave clear because they didn't want him to be a solo laner. But I think with this buff, it doesn't even matter if you clear minions or not.
You just get so much.
Yeah, every kill you get is 600 gold. Yeah. So you don't even need to farm anymore. You can just go solo. I played one game on it
and ended up with 6,000 gold on my ult. So it seems like quite an unnecessary and large buff.
Yeah. They changed Ryze. They buffed Ryze's health regen and health regen growth and fixed some bugs, I guess.
This one, they changed Singed so that there's a delay on when you can toggle your Q. But there was actually a trick on Singed where when you're clearing a wave, you just spam your Q so it'll proc like half a second, like 1/4 a second, and it damages the minions you're on top of. So you could clear waves with no mana by doing that. A lot of Singed mains were quite upset about this. I know that.
They changed Swain on this patch. It was actually a pretty big change to Swain.
What their intention was to make his ult simpler to use so the conditions are met easy compared to before, because before you kind of had to get the soul fragments and stack up 5 of them.
And like mid to late game, it was pretty hard.
But they also changed the Qs so that while it no longer restores mana, it does damage through minions, which it didn't before, and nerfed the range by 100.
Yeah, and increased the amount of bolts. I think this let you wave clear easier, because now you can hit the range and the melee creeps. Although The one downside is its cooldown is a lot higher, so you cast a lot less
Only
Qs.
actually, overall.
Overall, it's low. It's just lower.
From what I've seen, it seems like this was a buff for Swain and just makes him easier to play.
It seems like Swain's early laning is weaker, but at 6, like Swain's ult is really strong.
Yeah.
Next, they changed Silas.
So the minions are now take more damage from your passive.
Okay, so they wanted to buff it.
They didn't want him only in the jungle, I think is what I'm reading.
It seems like they wanted to buff his laning. They also buffed the Q damage, and they changed the E shield to give magic damage now. Magic shield now. Like I actually think you can use the shield pretty well, especially if you're mid lane versus a mage, because every time they cast a spell, you'll just
you just E. Like Cassio, you just E the Q even if you want to. You take a lot less damage.
And they changed the cooldown to 14 seconds on all ranks. I think it's a buff to the E for sure.
So before at level 16, Silas could get an ult every 15 seconds. Now it's 60, like an actual ult.
You can't like just
Honestly,
take 5 ults
really
in one
made
fight.
Sense why it was 15 at level 16.
I don't get it.
That got us a few wins in LCS, but we'll ignore that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like a overall like decent change for the E. Good changes on Q and passive, but then the ult got nerfed at later points of the game. They changed Tahm Kench. They mostly changed it because Tom was really oppressive in solo lanes, specifically top in melee matchups.
It seems like they don't like that.
Even in bot lane, it just wasn't fun to play against if you were the melee. Your abilities no longer apply your passive at all, the damage or the stacks. And they made it so your Q cooldown doesn't go as low as it did. They also removed a part of the Tom Q where it would basically hit in a circle, like not a circle, but a semicircle in front of you. So if they were on top of you, it was really easy to hit.
And then they made it so that when you Q someone, they lose all the stacks, so you can't just like.
You would be able to chain Q people.
Yeah, it was really dumb when your Q was low cooldown.
The main
you
reason
stun
they
them
did
over and
this
over
is
again.
they buffed the stun duration.
Yeah. I think it's going to be pretty hard to hit the stun though. Like you have to auto them 3 times.
I don't think it's as easy for sure. They changed it so the enemies no longer stunned when you spit them out, and also they're no longer nearsighted when in your belly. It seems like they overall nerfed Tom W, but all they really added was that you can eat the blue buff and red buff.
It was so annoying when they would steal your Gromp, but now they can steal your blue too. Yeah, so it's going to be so much worse.
Now you have his E healing him a lot more. It heals
but shields less.
75% of gray health, but shields much less too.
I think shield only lasting for 3 seconds is pretty big. Because before they would go through the entire shield, or like have to. Because 6 seconds is actually a really long time for damage.
Urgot got a recast timer, changed from 1 second to 0.5 on his W. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Yumi just got some overall nerfs.
Yeah.
She got her passive mana removed.
I think that's pretty important, right, for trading in lane.
So before it just felt bad to give Yumi her empowered auto.
They increased the Q mana and reduced the Q damage on Yumi. And also reduced the shield early levels on her passive.
Yeah, I think it's overall a nerf to her early game. She no longer has infinite mana in lane, which is good.
But they also nerfed the mana cost on her E.
But in a closer lane, it might matter, like all-ins.
Yeah.
It might give her potentially more heal, but I don't think it matters that much. The idea of these changes is just like nerf the early pressure of Jace and then some other top laners. Kennen, he also got the same treatment. Lower base AD, higher growth, lower attack speed.
They moved the attack speed to his E, actually.
Yeah.
Like the attack speed.
But it's good that they're changing things like this because for top laners, it's quite oppressive when champions that are ranged are in the top lane and have a lot of base stats.
Yeah.
They also nerfed Nico's base stats from 48. Pretty much just nerfed them all a bit and shifted it around to growth. Yep, it's good overall changes, I think, for top lane.
Yeah. They had some mid-patch updates.
Pretty much hot fixes.
Yeah, starting with Akali, increased the base health and base health regen.
They actually nerfed Cassio.
Yeah, they nerfed Cassio because it seemed like it was too strong. They nerfed the cooldown on the W and the healing on the E. I thought the healing would be ridiculous on E.
Yeah, 25%. I mean, it's a good nerf for sure.
They nerfed Fizzy to 3 instead of 4.
Yeah, it doesn't matter at all, actually.
Buffed Galio a little.
I don't think this matters either. They butchered the champ and gave him 10 damage on his passive at level 18.
And they buffed...
Huge Tom buff.
Yeah, they buffed Tom's damage.
They pretty much reverted his Q back to how it was before and added more on-hit damage on your autos.
And increased the slow on the Q so you can get more autos.
They reverted the Q changes on Singe, so now you can cast your Q instantly.
Because the Singe mains were losing their minds.
Yeah, they were really upset.
Thanks for watching our patch 9.14 updates, and hopefully you learned something from them.
Like and subscribe.
Comment below what you think
About Maddie's content.